What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you are new to the channel, and you probably are because we're just getting started out here, welcome to my garage, the home of the Blubicon, which you see right behind me. So this is the inaugural video, the first video where we are going to follow the transformation of the Blubicon. We're basically going to go from our stage 1 build on 35s and 2.5-inch lift and get it ready for 37s, get it ready for the Rubicon this year. And that's really what this video series is going to be all about over the next 3 to 4 months. Going to document things as we go along, get ready for our trip to the Rubicon Trail, as well as all the hard work and money that's going to be spent to get this thing where we want it to get, which is going to be the end of our full stage 2 build. So let's see where we're going to right now. So under the front end, you may recognize this diff cover. That is a Dana 30 differential cover because we're still running a Dana 30. You'll notice that there's been no axle reinforcements. I did not weld on any C-gussets. I do not have heavy-duty ball joints. I did not truss the axle at all. There are no sleeves. So it's pretty much a 100% completely stock Dana 30. Now, the steering's been beat up a little bit. Kind of hard to tell. You can kind of tell. There's a little bend in that tie rod. So the tie rod's going to have to be replaced. I'm going to be doing a 1-ton tie rod and drag link setup, which I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. And then, of course, my steering stabilizer is absolutely destroyed. I don't even know how it still works. But I haven't noticed any issues with steering. So this is the big one here. It's going to be the front axle. And if you haven't noticed, here it is. So we've got the brand new TerraFlex Terra 44 axle. It's got 3 1/4-inch axle tubes, and it has half-inch thick axle walls. And right now it's a bare housing. Doesn't have anything. Look at the size of those C's. Absolutely massive. So it's a monster. It's an absolute monster axle. And so let's go inside. I'll show you how we're going to build it up. Okay, guys, well, this is the spreadsheet. This not only tracks what I've spent so far and what I've bought for my Jeep, what's basically on there at this point. And then over here, I'm going to show you guys what the shopping list is for what still needs to be done. So $20,000, that was the projected budget for this build to have it completely done exactly the way I want. But that includes 2 stages. Obviously, the Blubicon's in stage 1 right now, 35s, 2.5-inch lift, and we've been running it in stage 1 for the last 2.5 years, just like that. Total cost up to this point, $11,646.27 on a manufacturer's suggested retail price of a little over $18,000 worth of parts. This doesn't all include labor. Most of the labor was done by me. But this, what I paid versus what I could have paid, this is a result of coupons, coupon codes, discount codes, waiting until Black Fridays, waiting until Memorial Day sales, Veterans Day sales, mail-in rebates, things of that nature, knowing people who know people. So that's where most of those discounts came from. So I've saved close to 33, maybe 35% off of what MSRP would be on all this stuff. So it pays to shop smart, kiddos. So we come over here. This is the shopping list for the Rubicon, summer 2019. The install date for this stuff is tentatively going to be somewhere around early to mid-June, probably. Just depends on Mr. John Thomas and if I can get time in his shop, but maybe even late June. We'll see what happens. Got to work everything around wedding schedules as well. But so for the Rubicon, front axle, that's getting done. Terra 44, we're putting RCV shafts in there, ARB air locker, Revolution gears, front and rear 488s, TerraFlex ball joints, and we'll piece together the last couple things I need for my install kit as far as bearings, races, seals, and crush sleeve, things of that nature. Front axle install, we're going to be replacing the steering, which you saw, which was completely trashed, with a 1-ton aluminum setup, the Deutsch Off-Road tie rod and drag link with the high steer flip. Steering stabilizer, just going to be a temporary TerraFlex, 60 bucks, cheap way to go. I just need it to last me until next summer when I do the hydro assist steering. Synergy sector shaft brace. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. Sector shaft brace. For $100, it's cheap insurance. Not only will it help to preserve that sector shaft while I do the Rubicon, but it'll also be helping to get that steering beefed up for the Hydro Assist next summer. Rear axle, we're going big. 35 spline. We'll do the Revolution chromoly axle shafts along with the 488 gears and the ARB air locker. I do not have plans to truss the rear axle at this point. May or may not do that in the future, but that's not on the price sheet at the moment. Rear diff, going to be the Metal Cloak diff skid. If you haven't seen it, it just came out maybe 2 months ago. Metal Cloak had a really nice rear differential skid for the JL, and they just came out with a JK version, and so I'll be picking that up. Not so much for the protection of the diff, because I have the Poison Spider cover on there already, but it's going to be more along for the sliding capabilities of it. If you haven't seen it, it's a pretty sexy piece. Well, let's show it to you real quick. All right, well, as you can see, there are some hang-up points on the rear differential. This is actually a JL differential here, but the JK is very similar. Hang-up diff points are going to be on the same place. And here is the sexy new JL skid, as you can see, made for the JK now. But you can see it's got a nice little slippery slide here that basically lets you slide across the rocks. So that's going on the rear diff. Also, we'll be adding on the control arm skids that have a shock relocation bracket. As you know, on the JKs, those lower rear shock mounts, they do hang about 1.5 inches down below the control arm mount. And so we can actually shave off 1.5 inches of metal with a cutoff wheel and use these Evo brackets to relocate those rear shock mounts, as well as they have a built-in skid for the rear control arms. And so that's a nice little piece there. Transfer case, we're doing the Rubicon Rock Track transfer case ratio. And let me show you really quick what that's going to do to my transfer or to my crawl ratio. All right, so on fourwheelnetwork.com, there's a really cool article called How to Survive the Rubicon Trail Your First Time. And if you scroll down to the differential picture here, it's going to say we recommend a minimum crawl ratio of 55:1 for automatics or 65:1 for manual transmissions. This is going to give us our crawl ratio, which we want to be at. I have a manual transmission, so we want to be at least 65:1. So I'm running 315 Goodyear Duratrax. They have a diameter of 33.75 inches. The diff ratio when we hit the trail is going to be 4.88. Transmission ratio in first gear, because I have a manual transmission, I have a 20% deeper first gear than an automatic. So my transmission first gear ratio is 4.46:1. Transfer case ratio, that's where that Rock Track Rubicon case comes into play, and that is a 4:1 ratio. Typical crawl RPM is going to be right around 12 to 1500 RPM, 1000 to 1500 RPM maybe, so let's say 1200 RPM. And now we can calculate our crawl ratio with miles per hour. So we have a crawl ratio of 87:1, which is freaking awesome. 65 is the recommended crawl ratio for the Rubicon. We should be able to crawl the trail in first gear at a speed of 1.4 miles per hour, which is quite slow, at an RPM of 1200 RPM. So that is the incredible coolness of having that Rubicon transfer case. Just for example, to show you where I'm at now, I have a 2.72 transfer case in there with 456 gearing in my Jeep today. My current crawl ratio is 55.32. So once again, re-gearing up to 488 and putting a 4:1 transfer case in there brings us up to an 87:1 crawl ratio. Not bad at all.
Last but not least, these are the parts that I have currently sourced out and have in the garage. They are not installed on the Jeep at the moment. The TerraFlex Terra 44 housing, the Rock Track transfer case, and the ARB lockers that will be going in front and rear. I paid a total of $3,351 for these parts. Saved probably 45%, and I'll explain to you how I got $6,200 worth of parts for only $3,300. The Terra 44 housing was actually a price mistake I found on Amazon. I went ahead and bought it and did not think it would ship. As soon as they notified me that it shipped and I had a tracking number, I pretty much lost my mind. It actually got delivered, and holy cow, I got a $2,300 axle housing for $1,200. Not too bad. The Rock Track transfer case, if you buy them brand new, you're going to spend a boatload of money. Even on the aftermarket, they're going for anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 for the aftermarket cases. Not aftermarket, but used, I should say. Found a guy selling one for $900. He's doing an LS swap and just was looking to unload it quickly, which he did. And then he's going to pay me $200 for my transfer case for a net cost of $700. My ARB locker RD117 I bought at a discount a couple of years ago, $827 off the $990 retail. And the RD147 I found again on Facebook Ads Marketplace being sold by Inland Jeep Supply. Somebody had purchased it for their Jeep and realized it was the wrong one. They should have bought the 157. Instead, they got a 147 and they couldn't use it. So it had been installed and then had to be uninstalled. It was never used. And so I got a pretty nice deal on that there.
Alrighty guys, well that is the plan. So over the next 2-3 months here, that's kind of the timeline. End of May, I'll be purchasing all of these parts. In June, we'll be setting up, the appointments to get into John's shop, and I'll definitely get some great video of the process of getting all these things installed, the transfer case installed, getting both axles swapped out, and all the fun stuff that's going to go with re-gearing. The lockers are going to need a little bit of modification because the ring gear bolt holes aren't the right size on the ARB lockers. You actually have to drill them out with a drill press, so we're going to have to find somebody to help us do that as well. But gonna be a lot of adventure for sure. So thank you guys for coming along with me on this little adventure, and yeah, we'll see what happens next. Harlow. Bye, baby.